Hello everybody, my name's Sam Bergen and I'm currently studying for my Masters here at York, and next year I'll be moving on to do my PhD here as well. So I'm going to talk to you today about the incorporation of anti-capitalism into the music industry. This formed the basis of my undergraduate dissertation, which took the form of a literature review, and although I see the incorporation of anti-capitalism as a wider cultural phenomenon, I use the music industry as an indicative case study. So, first of all, I'm going to talk about what I mean by musical resistance and incorporation. Then I'm going to outline a few theoretical concepts, but I'm not going to talk about all the ones I put in the abstract, just because of time. And then finally, I'm going to try and fit it all into the conference by talking about some of the implications this might have from my point of view. So, firstly, what do I mean by musical resistance? Well, there's been a history of using music in protest and resistance. You can think right back to the folk songs of early peasant uprisings, right up to Rage Against the Machine. This might be due to the inherent characteristics in music of popularity, accessibility, it's expressive, it's universal. And in this way we can see that musical resistance is a type of cultural resistance, which literally means where culture is used to resist the dominant structure. But with the rise of the culture industry and the rise of consumerism, what we begin to see is the incorporation of this cultural resistance into capitalism. It's capitalist monopoly over its own criticism. It kind of ties into ideas of an ideological hegemony, which has also been called capitalist realism or the one-dimensional society or even the end of history. So here's a few examples of what I'm on about. I don't know if anyone was following the Occupy London, but they have their own record company, Occupy Records. And you've also got albums being called Only Revolutions or The Resistance, bands, System of a Down, Rage Against the Machine. And then I've also included Jessie J and Madonna, just to show it wasn't just my music collection that's affected. So I argue that this is the kind of activism that results. These pictures are from the student fees protests. And you see, I don't know if you can see here, but this is a famous picture that was in the newspaper. And she's wearing a Smiths t-shirt, hat full of hollow album cover, stood on some crash barriers above the police. And then you've also got a reference to Muse there, related to Nick Clegg. So what I'm arguing is that it turns activism into a post-political fad. It's a shallow commitment. What we see here is a performance of a rebel identity rather than a political commitment. So I'm just going to go through a few of the concepts I've borrowed to explain what's going on here. So first of all is this idea of Co-Optation, which literally means the incorporation of the anti-capitalist rhetoric into consumer culture. And it's a well-known concept in cultural theory. This also has been referred to elsewhere as the rebel cell, where attempting to create symbols of resistance simply feeds the flames by creating a whole new set of positional goods for these rebel consumers to compete for. But has this now been superseded by what I've called, for lack of a better term, Post-Cooptation, where anti-capitalism is created in the very boardrooms that it professes to resist? This, for me, either demonstrates the complete futility of anti-capitalism in the fact that the culture industry is prepared to use it as a rhetoric, or it indicates capital's blind pursuit of new markets that is willing to sustain its own criticism. Now this idea of interpassivity is going to form the basis of my master's thesis, which I'm starting next week, so I particularly welcome any comments on this idea. It was coined by Robert Fowler, and he's talking about objects which literally feel for us or perform emotions in our place. This was developed by Slavoj Žižek, who talks about this idea of canned laughter. So you come home from work, a tired day working, and you sit in front of the telly and you put on Friends or something similar. And the canned laughter on the TV relieves you even though you don't laugh yourself. So it's as if the program is laughing in your place. So Mark Fisher suggested that we could apply this to the idea of anti-capitalism, so cultural goods are performing our anti-capitalism on our behalf. But Mark Fisher, he only dedicates about that much of the book to this idea, so I wanted to develop it further. So, what are the implications for the social sciences? Well, I would argue that the purpose of social science is to solve the social problems of a capitalist society. And therefore, we should take an ideological stance in an era of unrest. There is a counter-argument to this, that to be ideological is not to be value-free. But firstly, we know that value freedom, or pure value freedom, is hard to come by. And I'd also argue that taking a stance of non-ideology or post-ideology is taking an ideological stance, that you're leaving the world as it is. So, now we've got that sorted, I'm now going to show you a video which indicates some of the problems, indicates what I've been talking about, but then also alludes to what the implications might be for a radical social science. I apologise for the poor quality, but the broadcaster, in the name of impartiality, refused to film this band. So instead, I've got a shaky camera video from YouTube that I've just added some subtitles to, so you can see what's going on.
Wake
this is some of the lay sociology, if you like, that I've just picked up from that speech. But the point is that no one remembers the great Berkshire uprising against the Iraq War in 2008 because it just didn't happen. Everyone finished watching Rage Against the Machine, went back to their tents, got pissed and enjoyed the rest of their weekend. So what I'm arguing is that this is like a cultural escape valve. And we struggle to, as radical sociologists, we struggle to engage with the public because they turn to the culture industry to express these political views. So I argue that we need to somehow return to being kind of Gramscian intellectuals and understand how individuals can become falsely conscious of their positions. So in conclusion, anti-capitalism has become a dominant discourse of the culture industry, and this has implications for the radical social science. And we need to take an ideological stance and engage with social movements in an era of unrest to try and rectify this. Thanks very much.